Good morning. We'll just let you all get in and connected to audio, and then I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. Say hello to some of the people I recognise. I recognise Megan and Buttercrumble. Hello, Abigail and Chloe today, and Zoe. Oh, hello, Anne. Hope you are well. So this is a really relaxed talk. It's not like a webinar or anything, so we can see your videos if you want to put them on. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to keep you all on mute throughout, and that's just so that we don't disturb our speakers as well. And then at the end, there'll be a chance for a Q&A through the chat, and I will read those questions out for you. Okay, so I think most people are connected to audio now and ready to go. We might have a few late comments as well, as people get their copies and stuff. So, hello, welcome. My name's Claire Duffield. I'm Digital Engagement Librarian from Leeds Libraries, and that means I get to do cool things like these tech talks, social media, tech moms, code clubs, lots of really cool stuff, all about getting people online and kind of raising aspirations as well. So today we have the wonderful Elvi Piper from Wrongsemble, which is a theatre company that we've worked a lot with, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about theatre online and how to go about that and what they've been doing as well during lockdown. And we've also got a lovely children's librarian, Rachel Ingleteer, and she's done a lot of stuff with Wrongsemble and Elvi, and also other things in libraries as well. And she's going to discuss the resources that we have in libraries for you to use and what's coming up as well for our summer programme. So I'm just letting some other people in, and I'll just go over our housekeeping again for everyone. So you can say hello in chat. So if I just go into chat in here, that should now ping up. You'll see a hello come up on your screen, so you can say hello to us, and you can ask questions throughout the talk on there. I will be keeping you on mute. You can have your videos on if you want to. If you want to show us what you're eating for your lunch, your sandwiches and everything, always intrigued to know that. And also pets, love pets. As I say, this is very relaxed, so feel free to go in and out if you have some deliveries or children. We know what it's like in lockdown at the moment. If there's anyone who displays unacceptable behaviour, I'll just exit straight away. This is a really safe place for discussion and learning and sharing ideas. And that's what we wanted to bring you during lockdown. We wanted to keep you connected, and we want to hear from lots of our lovely partners. So, enough of me talking. I'm going to introduce you to our first speaker, which is Rachel Ingleteer. Take it away, Rachel.
Hi. So I'm a children's librarian at Leeds Libraries, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about theatre in libraries and our summer holiday online family programme, which includes some amazing local theatre makers as well. So libraries have a long-standing relationship with theatre, and libraries delight in the high-quality storytelling and dramatisation of literature that theatres create. And theatre groups benefit from the access to venues and communities connected to libraries. And it really is a win-win for everyone involved, especially the access to culture that this partnership opens for communities that we work for. At Leeds Libraries, we have a cultural programme running seasonally throughout the year, which did come to an abrupt stop with COVID-19, unfortunately. But as the children's librarian, the programme of family theatre is a big part of my role, and also an area of work that I really love. Libraries are wonderful places, and theatre is magical, so bringing the two things together creates unique experiences that everyone can enjoy from all socioeconomic backgrounds. This is largely due to our programmes being very low cost or free for families, as well as being high quality through these partnerships. This summer, we have been able to take this work online as part of our Summer Reading Challenge programme. And I wanted to take this opportunity to share this with you. So I'm just going to share my screen. I've just got a few slides just to support this. So just let me give me a nod, Claire. Is that it? Cool. Well, so this year the Summer Reading Challenge theme is Silly Squad, and it celebrates funny books, happiness and laughter. So something we really need this year. The artwork, which you can see on this screen, is created by Laura Ellen Anderson, who has a spooky gothic style and writes the Amelia Fang children's book series, which are worth checking out. Every Tuesday at 12 noon across our social media channels, we're hosting a new piece of theatre from the brilliant local theatre company Tutti Frutti and a number of fantastic local cultural partners who are supporting this programme over the summer too. So each week we'll feature a new children's book that is brought to life in a performed reading through actors and theatre directors. And as well as this weekly event, we also have a selection of brilliant storytellers sharing funny and silly tales throughout the holidays too. So I'm just going to, hold on. There we go. So just have a little look at what we've had so far. So we had the Explorer, which was performed by Dermot, which was brilliant. And this week we had Rumbelow's Dance, which was performed by Elise, which was just so funny and brilliant. So it's worth checking that out if you haven't seen it already. And yesterday we had the storyteller Robin Simpson. So every week, once these performances and stories have been gone through our social media channels, we're popping them onto our YouTube channel as well. So it gives everyone the opportunity to be able to catch up on any of the ones if they've missed it. Just go to the next one. So coming up, so some of the theatre that we have, we've got Silly Billy and Hugh Boy, and these two stories are performed by Stuart. We've also got Jamila's Dress, and this is performed by Catherine. And down here at the bottom you can see Rapunzel. That's next week's performance. So that is by Rihanna, and this one is directed by Elvi, who we're going to hear from very soon. The storytellers as well coming up over the summer, we've got Gareth P. Jones, Ursula Holden-Gill and Keith Donnelly as well, so some dates of them. And all of this programme really is to enjoy be able to support the key message that the summer holidays are a great time to enjoy books and reading, and for children to keep up with their reading through the summer will also ensure that they have the best start in September when they return to school. We recommend children read 6 books as part of the Summer Reading Challenge over the holidays, and this can be anything they choose. So in Leeds Libraries, you've got access to ebooks and e-audiobooks, digital comics, graphic novels and magazines, as well as our order and collect service at selected libraries. There's no cost to joining the library or reserving and borrowing books, and we're also fine free. So this summer programme is about children reading their favourite books, whether that's independently or with a grown-up, and enjoying online rewards from the summer reading, from the reading agency, which you can just see there, and they're the organisation behind the Summer Reading Challenge. So I'll pop a link to the Summer Reading Challenge website just in the comments. So if anyone wants to be able to access that, you can see that, and I'll be around to answer any questions around this programme or about the Summer Reading Challenge as well. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Is that good? Am I back?
You're back. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Fantastic work. I'm really enjoying all the stories each week as well as an adult.
They've been really good, really good.
Really fun. I love the space one actually that we had a couple of weeks ago. And they're all available on our YouTube channel. So if you go to at Leeds Libraries as well, you can view them back. So thank you very much, Rachel. I'm going to go on to Elvi, our guest star from Wrongsemble today, and we're going to hear a little bit about theatre online. I'll take you off mute, Elvi. There you go, ready to go.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Rach. I'm Elvi. I'm artistic director of Leeds-based theatre company Wrongsemble, and I think, as Rachel mentioned, we've had a long-running partnership with Leeds Libraries. So Rachel and I actually first collaborated together when I worked at the now Leeds Playhouse, then West Yorkshire Playhouse, where we were delivering family programmes with shared objectives. And then when Wrongsemble was created, it was just a partnership that felt really intrinsic to what we both had as values as organisations, which is how do we reach young people and families from all different types of experience and backgrounds, and how do we make art and theatre that is accessible to the masses, basically, but is of the highest quality. So that's hopefully what we do. But I'll tell you a little bit about us, and I've had a few weeks off Zoom, amazingly. I don't quite know how, so apologies if my tech skills are a bit low. I'm going to say that in advance. I'm just going to share my screen with you and get this in case you didn't know why we were here. But basically, I think today I'll just talk to you a little bit about what we've been up to and some of the kind of theatre online that I've been engaging with, or that has been kind of made visible to me, but also would love to know and discuss any thoughts, questions, or anything that comes out of that, because one of the things that I've been missing most during this is that sense of connection, and that is so much about what my job as the theatre director is usually about, bringing people together. That has been a huge adjustment for me, and I know so many others as well. So actually, she says, I'm not going to share this screen with you now. I'm going to share a little video with you. I've got a few little films today, and this one is just a really, really short film about what Wrongsemble do and why we do it. So it's just 2 minutes long, and hopefully that's the sound on there for you as well, she says. Don't want to see it twice. So that just does my job of having to explain what we do a little bit, hopefully. But do ask me any questions about that later. There's lots of bits in there from our work that we've done with Leeds Libraries as well. So it's really nice to look back over those. I was just watching and going, have I spelt all these things right in this film? That was my main concern as I rewatched that. And I'm just going to go back to sharing a little bit about what we've been up to during this time. So let's get the PowerPoint back up. Great. So So when we went into lockdown, we were in our first week of rehearsals for our next show, The Not So Ugly Sisters, which is a co-production with Leeds Playhouse and Red Ladder, two of the most prolific, long-standing theatre companies in our city. So it was a really exciting production for us to be creating. Obviously, no one could foresee how that was going to be postponed. So we started rehearsing on the 16th of March. So by the 23rd of March, we were at the Old Vic, and it was very abundantly clear that we could not continue to rehearse. So we were really passionate about the fact that we needed to try and take that work online and embrace the situation, having no idea how long it would last. I think at first so many of us thought it would be a few weeks as opposed to months, and we needed to adapt really quickly, as did everyone. And part of the commitment to adapting and moving our work online was not just because we wanted to do that, but also because we are a team made up nearly entirely of freelancers, and all our artists are freelancers. And, you know, as for so many people, at that moment, everyone's work disappeared. This tour was meant to run until the end of May. And so suddenly all the work for our artists after that had disappeared as well. So I'm incredibly proud that with the Arts Council and the other partners involved, we could continue to work creatively online and pay everyone, which felt so important, not least for myself. It was very nice to know I could still do my job whilst being at home. So we went from this was our first week of rehearsals at the Old Vic. The Not So Ugly Sisters is a feminist musical retelling of Cinderella, all set in a Leeds hair salon that was touring to venues nationally and then also to non-traditional venues around the region, working particularly with Red Ladder and the Playhouse on reaching communities via library settings, via working men's clubs, community halls, non-traditional venues basically, and then finishing with a Christmas run. Now we might actually do that backwards and start with the Christmas run and then work that way, but we'll see, fingers crossed. So we went from this to this, and I do hope you'll also see this is Daisy and Elise, two brilliant Leeds and Huddersfield based artists. Elise is the one Rachel mentioned, did the Run Below in the storytelling last week. We can vouch for her being wonderful. So we moved to, everyone's new normal, which was rehearsing over Zoom. So those were our cast and our stage manager, Heather. And suddenly all four of us in totally different locations. Daisy's actually, although from Garforth originally, is based in London. And it felt really important that as early as possible we could allow her to go home so that she wasn't in lockdown in a space that wasn't hers. So there we were. We looked very happy there. There was a lot of times we didn't look quite so happy, but we were a really good support system, and obviously adapting to using things like Zoom and then WhatsApp were really key in how we created in isolation. So we couldn't always create in the same space digitally either. Like things like music, it just doesn't work. There's a time lag on songs. So we're making a musical, we're doing choreography, people that can't necessarily see each other. So we had to kind of use a combination of different mediums to do that. So that would be our holding space on Zoom. And then we would use WhatsApp for music because we could share things quickly. And our musical director could give notes via voice notes, and then people could record and then put it back together. Obviously much harder when we're doing duets, but they could record over the top of each other's recordings. So that was how we worked in terms of music. And then in terms of choreography, and I'm sure Daisy and Elise would absolutely murder me for sharing this with you, but I have some very short films that we have basically choreographed the whole show. We have blocked loads of the show, like where we staged the actual scenes, but obviously we've had to do it separately. So here's Daisy in London and Elise in Huddersfield, and together choreographing a part of the number. So I'll just share a short clip of each of this with you of how we did it.
Someone takes my coat, and so I stride right out to the struck of a dance across the dance floor.
Just a little snippet there of that, and Daisy's as well. Everyone's Kitchens, featuring heavily. So those just very short snippets of how we were working. So that project, obviously, we reached a point where we couldn't go any further, but we worked up until the middle of May. And the next part of that is obviously getting back into a room together at some point to finish the show. But we have done so much of the legwork that we think we don't need more than a week or so to do that, whereas usually our rehearsal process would be 3 to 4 weeks. So we have done that work. Obviously, it was over a much longer period, but as I think most of us have found, like working in an online space, we have to be more mindful about the amount of time that we spend in those spaces and how we manage that interaction, because it can be fatiguing and tiring in so many different ways. And then, as Claire mentioned, we're managing deliveries and children and caring responsibilities. So yeah, just being really mindful of that and adapting as we went. I'll cycle through some more examples. This is a piece called Unsung, which actually, as well as artistic director of Wrongsemble, I'm a freelance theatre director and writer, so I work on projects outside of the company too. And this project is by a local organisation that I'm part of called Unsung Collective, which is myself, local producer Alice Barber, who also works for Red Ladder. There's so much cross-pollination in the Leeds theatre world. And screenwriter and playwright Lisa Holdsworth, who wrote Black Teeth and a Brilliant Smile last year, the story of Andrea Dunbar, and also is a prolific screenwriter for things like Call the Midwife, and worked on Emmerdale for a number of years. And this piece was something we created a year ago. It was due to come back for a second tour, and along with that, we were also meant to be R&Ding our next piece, which was a piece about roller derby and sort of feminist sport. However, obviously we couldn't meet. We had 2 new cast members joining us because of clashes in timetabling for other people. So we had 2 new cast members, and then suddenly we couldn't be in a room. We definitely weren't going to be doing a tour and doing a piece about roller derby when they couldn't meet and we couldn't be in the same space and we were going to be learning and researching. Also felt like something we needed to postpone. But again, with all of this, it was like, how can we adapt? How can we move forward? So Unsung, we had done so much work on it already. The show had a life that we felt fairly confident that actually we could do something new with it. So we decided to turn it into a radio play, which was terrifying because I've never directed a radio play in this way before. And 2 of the cast members, as I said, were new to the process. The piece, these are photos from the original production. The piece was so based in physicality and movement, and this beautiful score by Leeds-based band Peaks. It's about 4 unsung heroes of history, female feminist history, Ada Lovelace, Andrea Dunbar, the playwright from Bradford who wrote Rita Sue and Bob too. I've literally forgotten everyone's names now, that's terrible. Ada Lovelace, Andrea Dunbar, Lillian Bader, who was one of the first female, first black female Air Force women. That is not what I mean. My brain. And Sophia Jex-Blake, who was one of the first women to study medicine at Edinburgh University and set up a school of medicine and hospital dedicated to this would not be the terminology we'd use now, but impoverished women's health needs. So there was not healthcare specified towards women, particularly poor women, during the kind of turn of the century. I'm just going to also share a little bit of this with you. So she says, so we moved online to a radio play. This came with a whole new set of challenges, obviously, things that we had never done before. We didn't have a sound designer in our team, so we had to ask the wonderful Matthew Ango from Slunglow to help us with that, which he did. And this is just a short clip of the play, which has been translated into a radio drama.
Do you think you'll ever get an answer for all your bloody maths? No? I don't see the bloody point then. But I have observed a new phenomenon. Go on then. recognition plus time equals resurgence and rediscovery and reclamation. Women are collecting their own data, drawing their own conclusions, and being free to do so. It's fragile. It's even sporadic in places, and it requires the right conditions. But it is observable and significant.
So just a little snippet of that. That whole play, if you are interested, is available to listen to online for free. That's at unsungcollective.com. I'll pop the link in the chat later. So that's a piece that we were able to move online with and have to work in a new digital sphere. Like, how do we tell a story taking away one of the key senses of how we did that, taking away the visual and the physical element. And actually, it was a huge challenge, but a hugely rewarding one that really made us focus on the storytelling and how we could reach people separately and then share that story with people in their own spaces, which was something that I then took on into a very different project that we've been working on as well. Obviously, during this time, it's been about being resourceful and taking on new things. And this project was called Reimagine. And Reimagine is a partnership with Derby Theatre and Derby University. Originally, this was a parks tour of work made by young people that we were going to be helping them tour around the region. So then when we moved this online, it had to be totally rethought because that work hadn't yet been created. So for this, we worked with a cohort of young people aged 16 to 25, meeting weekly to explore different art forms that they were excited by to create final outcomes. So they worked with a graffiti artist, they worked with theatre artists, dance artists, music artists, film and filmmakers as well. It was hugely rewarding for all of us, but also this generation of young people, so many of whom had their education abruptly interrupted, so many of them who had been in their third year of university and were waiting for that point of payoff and entering the creative industry that they had invested their kind of education into, who needed an outlet for how they were feeling and also needed to feel connected to the world that they wanted to enter into. So we found that most of those young people were coming to us from a post-16, post-18 education point, or actually a post-undergraduate point. And it was a really exciting project to be a part of, and something that I did a lot of in my sort of previous life before we started Wrongsemble, but was really excited to go back to and focus some energy on. I've got another short film, just so that you don't have to incessantly hear me talk, which I'll share with you now, which is just about this project. It says, I keep not being able to see what I'm doing. There we go. So I thought I'd just share a video instead of one of me talking of Jessie, who was one of the participants. And Jessie had, she talks about her experience, so I won't talk over that. There we go.
Cohort. I first applied. Hi, I'm Jessie. I am taking part in the Derby Theatre Reimagine Creative Project, and I'm part of the theatre cohort. I first applied for Reimagines because I have just finished my acting degree, and my final year was kind of cut short because of lockdown and everything, and it felt quite anticlimactic, and I really wanted to get back into the swing of things, being creative, working with theatre in a theatrical way, and I was really struggling to keep creative in lockdown, and the Reimagine project has really helped with this. I've been able to look at new plays, I've been able to look at things in a different way, how I would put theatre in the future, how I stage theatre right now, how to make it accessible, how to make it current. It's been really, really interesting working with the team and finding new ways to do things. And it's been really fun. I've learned a lot so far. It's only the second week. I've been able to write monologues. I've been able to write scenes. I've been able to look at different ways of putting my degree to use. I've been using actioning, I've been using all sorts of things to kind of hone in on different aspects of theatre. And this week we've been looking at how to readapt plays to make them current, and that's been really interesting as well. I looked at 2 different plays to kind of compare my opinions, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm really excited to see where this goes and where we will take this and what we can create in the future.
So that's Jessie there, who is a brilliant, very inspiring young artist, and again has just been really rewarding to be able to make work that has basically co-author work with young people as the leading voice in this. I think there's been a big question, I know, in lots of the different organisations and partners who have a duty of pastoral care, thinking about how we support the digitally engaged young people at a point where they're most isolated, because actually those age groups are really digitally minded and very savvy often in a technological aspect, but they seem to be the hardest to reach usually. So that's been a really exciting project to be a part of, and I'll just finish up where I am with my PowerPoint. I want to share all these lovely slides with you, which is the last few things that we've been up to during this period. So that's been a fully online project. We also did a version of it for families, so for focusing on families with young people under 11, which was a 6-week puppetry course with using objects you could find at home, so you never have to leave your house, and bringing those to life with weekly films. So I've become a film editor during lockdown, which was not something I thought I was going to have to learn to do, but I had the time, so it was fine. And then also using Facebook Live as an opportunity to engage with families in a safe space where things like Zoom and WhatsApp were inappropriate for that age group, and also just not something that family units, unless they were using it for a work context, were necessarily familiar with. So how did we find different technologies that reach different audiences basically throughout this period? One thing that we did get the chance to do was a part of Leeds Little Live Stories. So we piloted what we think is one of the first pieces of socially distanced theatre in the country, definitely in our city, supported by the incredible Slunglow, who, if you don't know their work, are a wonderful site-specific theatre company and also proprietors of the Holbeck, oldest working men's club in the country, still working. We usually live upstairs in a small room. That's where our office is. So we were there volunteering in their food bank during this period, and Alan, the artistic director, felt very much like the community that we were serving were really starved of something positive to look forward to. Holbeck is a really tricky area, and the Holbeck, the space, sits right in the middle of a domestic estate which has so many families that we were delivering hot school meals to every day. But they needed something else, and it felt like this was it. An opportunity to come together safely and separately and experience a piece of art for free. So we restaged and reworked one of our first productions, 3, with 3 local actors, which we rehearsed in the socially distanced sphere. Always a metre apart. We had to go to the metre. The van didn't quite stretch to 2 metres apart each. But it was really exciting or challenging both, to use kind of COVID-friendly measures in a working sphere as well, and how we could manage that. So we had to read a lot of guidelines, but our focus was on making the art, and Slunglow really focused on running the event, so it wasn't all on us, and they are hugely experienced at doing that. So this was the setup. Everyone had their own pod. Families had a tent. It was the hottest day of the year. It was the 30th of June. It was the hottest day of the year. These poor actors, honestly, I thought they were going to melt. But it was phenomenal. Very exciting, very special. 20 pods. Everything was massively staffed. This then led on as a pilot to other local theatre companies coming together to present their own localised storytelling events at different parts of the city, which happened last week. So we worked with company Tutti Frutti, who have been leading on the Summer Reading Challenge online videos. And, that's just another... These were some lads from the estate who a year ago robbed the kitty for the tea and coffee out of the kitchen. And here they are, a year later, coming back. They sat on the grass opposite. Alan brought them some headphones. They came and watched rehearsals every day and gave us notes. They were brilliant. That level of engagement in that community is it's why we work with the library so frequently. It's how do we reach people on these levels? And one of the things has been how do we reach those people who otherwise might never come to it and are not engaged in a digital sphere. And that's something we're looking to do beyond this point, because I don't think we've managed to do it fully yet. And there's always more to be learned. So this was Rapunzel that we did with Tutti Frutti, starring the brilliant Rihanna Deuce, and the filmed version of this will be part of the Summer Reading Challenge. So that goes live next week. And there was also a second piece, which was Hugh Boy, which will also be part of that. And we performed for families and the local nursery at Shine in Hare Hills, which is another community, which is a very different community, but another community that traditionally has quite a low engagement with live art. So it was really exciting to be able to do this in such an exceptional circumstance. This is a little sneak peek of the film of Rapunzel. I'm just going to show you a little bit of it. Just going to fast forward through the beginning.
This is the story of a girl and her nan. The girl was called Rapunzel, and this is how her story started. Nan was doing a big clean-up. This is when Rapunzel was a baby. She used to sleep in a cardboard box. Now, Nan wanted to clean the floor, so she took the box and she put it on a shelf, out of the way, so Rapunzel would be safe. And that's how it started. Once Nan had started, she couldn't stop. She wanted to get higher.
So that's Rihanna there. More of that to follow. There's a little teaser for you there. And then I just wanted to just raise the question, which has been a big thing that I've been thinking about, is live versus recorded. And going forwards, we're trying to think about how we can make work that exists in both spheres. Digital is going to be incredibly important, not only to reach more people, but to prepare for the interruptions to live art experiences in a world which we now live in, that has to be COVID proofed. And also, I think one of the things that's been hugely enlightening is how many people were really excited about engaging in theatre online because it was free suddenly that otherwise might not have done. And that's something that we want to continue to build on the success of, I think, just as an industry. But also, I think it's been made quite aware to people that access, which is something we believe in really, doesn't just finish with disability or need. Access can be a financial barrier. Access can be where you are. Access, I think, for a lot of people has been not being able to leave their homes, and some people who still can't and may not feel safety for a very long time. So we need to find ways of reaching people in a digital sphere that allows them to have as positive and exciting experience as a live one. I'm personally so craving the opportunity to do more live work, and I feel very strongly, though, that anything we do create from here on in has to have a live version and a recorded version of it. And those two things don't necessarily exist in exactly the same sphere. I've struggled to engage with some of the recorded theatre that I love just because a static camera of a show doesn't give me the experience I'm longing for necessarily. But that doesn't mean there hasn't been some incredible recorded art that has been shared during this period. So I think there's a version of how do we create both going forwards, definitely for us as a company. And just things that NT Live has obviously been a huge, having that for free, because even the screenings of that are usually £20 plus to go and watch it at a cinema. So I think that's been hugely valuable, having that for free. If you have subscribed to Disney Plus and haven't watched Hamilton yet, I mean, it's definitely worth it. In terms of that being a recorded piece of art, it's basically a feature film, probably 20 cameras filmed over 3 weeks. It's incredible, but a brilliant opportunity to see a film that for most people, to see a show that the financial barriers to see live in the West End or on Broadway are astronomical. There's Marquee TV, which shows loads of stuff. Does have a price point, but you can get a free month. So I did that early on, got my free month, binge watched a load of things, and I'd highly recommend it if you've got the time and inclination. And then I've just been keeping up to date with the Evening Standard and What's on Stage. You both have live pages that are updated every few days with new live recorded theatre pieces that you can watch, and they tell you how much it is. And a lot of it's on iPlayer as well if you've got a TV licence. Which has been great, from the RSC and the Globe and Wise Children by Emma Rice. They've shared a lot on there. So I just wanted to highlight a few things if you are craving some recorded or live theatre that you can watch that are there for you. And then I'm just going to finish with some shameless plugs about what we've got coming up. So hopefully our show, The Not So Ugly Sisters, will be back, possibly at the end of this year. Definitely, I hope. At the beginning of next year, if not. And we're also working on a digital programme for Christmas 2020. We would, over the last few years, we've been at Leeds Libraries creating a pop-up venue, and that's not going to be possible this year. So we're looking at how we create the same sort of experience with filmed content and tangible things that are sent to people's homes that they can interact with. And we're discussing now how we reach people digitally that might see digital experiences as a barrier to access. So talking to the brilliant team at 100% Digital Leeds, affiliated with the libraries, about their knowledge of how we reach families who otherwise might not be able to engage. So that's a really exciting project because we still want it to be able to reach as many people as possible, but we appreciate that access to technology and internet is not something that everyone has the privilege of. And then secondly, coming up in the long run, I talked about Unsung Collective later. We're working on a new show called The V Word, which is a feminist piece exploring feminine health and the lack of research into feminine health over the centuries. This particularly associates with our producer who has had vulvodynia her whole life and has had to live with that, and we're looking at how we talk about that in a way that is exciting, educational and really joyful. So it's going to be like a live cabaret which explores feminine health. And then finally for Wrongsemble, we were very lucky via a very stressful Zoom in which both cats jumped on either of my shoulders during this meeting. We did actually manage to win a very exciting commission working with the Arc in Stockton-on-Tees and the Albany in Deptford, London, to create a brand new Christmas show, The Snow Queen, which will go out over the next 2 Christmases, so 2021 and 2022. So something to look forward to in a time of a lot of sadness. So so there's a few shameless plugs for me there. I'm aware I've talked such a huge amount. I'm going to stop now and I'm going to hand over to other people in case they'd like to know anything else. I feel like I've just talked endlessly.
You've been amazing, Elvi. That is amazing.
I definitely need to drink water after
you've
that.
done so much things, and I really like how you've adapted in lockdown, and you're using quite basic and free tech to still do your rehearsals and things like that. And that must have been quite tough. And I think lockdown has really made us think of new ways of doing things, which can be quite exciting and can lead to new discoveries as well. So it's really lovely to hear how you've done that. If anyone has any questions, please post into your chat right now, and I will read them out. I will give you a couple of minutes for that. That's absolutely fine. And I think another thing that I was really keen on was how you were thinking about people's mindful and well-being in lockdown. I think especially women and mothers have found it quite difficult. There's been a survey by Women's Lives Leeds and Leeds City Council, and it's really shown that how many all the responsibilities that mothers have had throughout that, and trying to balance working from home and looking after kids as well.
It's felt really important for us to respond to people's change. I mean, I felt the same. The first week that we went into kind of full lockdown and rehearsal stopped, I definitely was not quickly adapting. There was this there's that phrase productivity porn that people were banding about at the beginning, of people who felt like they adapted very quickly and were able to put out content and creative ideas. And I was just sort of reeling and crying, looking out of the window like a kind of film, and weeping about my own tragedies, even though they were minute compared to others. But that sense of giving everyone space to adapt, and just we would start rehearsals almost like therapy sessions together. We'd lived through this moment in time together, and we needed to, at the start of each, debrief with each other about how we were in that moment, which could change hour to hour during it all, particularly in that first month. Actually, it was incredibly rewarding that we were able to move it online and adapt, because I think otherwise, I think everyone's work finishing, even if we'd still been paid necessarily. I know it's a tricky thing for people who've been furloughed. Like, you feel like you lose a little bit of who you are, because so much, particularly as women, we have fought to do the work that we do and be respected in that work and be respected as parents and carers and professional women. So it was hugely debilitating to have all that disappear overnight. So actually, I think it was as much a positive for me, and like selfishly, I needed to keep being creative during that time to, stay sane, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And in fact, like you're saying, digital can make things really accessible as well. So like these talks, so much easier to do than an actual in-person talk at the library, and I can record them if the tech works for people to view afterwards. So it's really quite handy. But yeah, there's issues around lots of children still and adults not having devices and data and things. So it's really good to hear that you're working with the 100% digital team to have a little look at that as well. Does anyone have any questions? You're all being very quiet. It's okay, because Elvi has covered quite a lot and probably answered a lot of questions already.
I'll make sure I share those slides as well. But if anyone, I'll just also share a few things in here in case anyone is looking for anything to watch. This is the link to the, if you go to unsungcollective.com, that's where the radio play is. It's about 51 minutes long. It'll also, top secret, it will also be playing hopefully on BBC Leeds in the next few weeks as well. So in episodes, we've just got to take out some of the F's and Jeffs. It's not a family friendly one, that one. I just warn you, full disclosure.
It is so good though. Like me and Rachel, we went to watch it and absolutely adored it. I've got one question for Lauren, from Lauren, sorry. How are you dealing with PRS if presenting work online?
That's a really good question. Well, for Wrongsemble shows, all of the music that we use is created for the work. So we pay the rights directly to the composer or musicians who have done that. So that might be that we've bought them out previously, or we pay them per usage. So that's just been a discussion with music. PRS is the amount that you pay to musicians to license their music, if anyone's not sure about that. With music, so for Unsung, we were using the catalogue of work by Leeds band Peak. So again, we did pay PRS on that, but we also paid them a buyout fee to use the snippets that we did for a recorded version. I mean, it helps, I guess, in those spheres that we have friendly relationships that are continually working, that we could reach quite easy conversations. It does become more complicated when you're then looking at using music that has, international licensing, or where you don't know the musician or the musician's agent. We haven't had to deal with that. We've been mostly using things that we already had license to. And occasionally for things like short films, and we've been using things that we could get temporary licenses for, or royalty-free music, which essentially, if you use it and credit the artist, as long as you've got permission to do so, is another way of supporting kind of other local artists as well. So yeah, I hope that answers that. We haven't had to deal with it that much. I think we've been quite lucky.
It's a really great question. Thank you, Elvi. Really good as well. We've because as the story times are based on books as well, so we've had to go to publishers for the permissions there, and we only have that for until September or something. You do have to be quite careful with your copyright and things like that. Let me know if anyone's got any more questions. We've only got 5. We're running on time pretty well. And yeah, I really liked how you've collaborated with a lot of people, Elvi, as well, especially like looking for skills from Unsung when you wanted to do the radio. So even if you don't have the skills or the knowledge in your team, you can work with other people. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's Elaine's got a question there. That's just
Sorry, so Elaine's missed the beginning. Don't worry, Elaine. So normally I record these using the Zoom recording function, but it's been disabled by my admin for some reason, so I can't do that today. So Rachel and Elvi have come up with a solution where Elvi's recording the audio and Rachel's recording the screen. So I'm hoping I can stitch that together and I'll be able to send you all out a link. I will let you know how we get on with that. If not, I can send you a presentation. Is that possible?
Digital adaptations in the moment, 2 minutes before we started. That is the new world. But yeah, and also we are, Wrongsemble and myself are on all the social channels at Elvi Piper or at Wrongsemble. So if you have questions or particular things you'd like to pick up in a different sphere, we're always open to conversations, questions, sharing practice. Please find us on social media. Our email address is in the public domain and on our website, so we will always get back to any inquiries that we receive as well. Yes.
Anne Wishat says skill sharing is key. Completely agree.
100%.
Yeah, don't do it all in your little silo.
Yeah, and I think the sense of partnership as well and collaboration during this time has been so important. Like when we can't be together, how do we come together? The Leeds Little Life Stories project, which actually there's a report out on Look North today with Wendy Harris from Tutti Frutti talking on there. So at 1:30 and 6:30 tonight. More shameless plugging. I'm not on it. I'm only plugging someone else. But that talks about, all these companies in the city coming together, none of us who have collaborated really before. And then at the one point where we're not allowed to work together, we managed to make something happen. So I think there's something quite special in that, and working online has been how we do that.
Definitely. Okay, I think it's nearly 1 o'clock. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today and for your questions. Like I say, I will try and send out links of what we've managed to cobble together today. Thank you so much to Elvi. Absolutely inspiring work in lockdown and previously. And I can't wait to see what else you do in future. Really inspiring to see you working with young people as well, because I think it's quite a scary time for young people, even if they've gone for a really good education and stuff. The opportunities have just completely changed now with lockdown. So really inspiring, thank you. And thank you to Rachel and Gaultier, our children's librarian, for sharing our up-and-coming theatre and storytelling on Facebook. So next week we have Megan Jones, who's on the call now, and she is the Leeds Museum's engagement officer. So she looks after a load of things, digital, especially social media. So we'll be hearing from her about how she creates a fun persona, which includes a lot of copper and Harry Styles content as far as I can see. I know, right? Brilliant. Please do share our talks. And if you enjoyed today on Leeds Libraries, at Leeds Libraries on Twitter, Facebook, or even Instagram. And thank you again. Have a lovely rest of the day. Take care, everyone. Bye. Bye, Anne. Thanks for joining us. Bye, Butter Crumble. Bye, Zoe. I don't know if you're one of our librarians. I think you might be. Bye.